All right, and we are up right on the number. I did episode 1 on March 30th, 2022.
Oh, wow.
With Ricky Fernandez of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And the baseball season, this episode will air next week. I usually am about 3 or 4 weeks ahead, but I had a trip to Hawaii. We had AUSA Global this week. My studio was under repair. So I need to get caught back up. So I'll start probably recording 2 a week so that I have some just to, what if I get sick? What if I need to go on another trip, right? I'm always going to release it every week. So your episode will release on Wednesday of next week. And who's that guy I'm talking about? I'll do a quick introduction of Mark Brazeal. Brazeal? How do you pronounce your last name?
Brazeal. Just like you pronounce the country. Yes,
gotcha.
Brazeal. Spelled different, but pronounced the same.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
I want to talk about your surname. But baseball, Major League Baseball starts today.
Yes.
Right now. It's underway.
I love baseball.
I know you do. I can't wait to talk to you about it. Who's your team?
I grew up following the Atlanta Braves.
Okay.
I'm still a Braves fan. But I really like the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
I appreciate their deep history in baseball. So Cardinals, but still primary Atlanta Braves. I mean, I go back to Dale Murphy and those guys back in the early '80s when they lost on a continuous basis. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about so Chip Carey? You remember him? He's your broadcaster.
I remember Skip Carey.
Yeah. So Skip passed away.
Yes.
In 2010, and then Josh, his one of his sons, is our guy with the Pandas, and his other son Chip was the broadcaster for the Braves and just is now moving to the Cardinals.
Oh, cool.
Where Harry Carey, his grandfather, started his career.
Yep, sure did. Most people remember Harry Carey as the Cubs play-by-play, but he started in St. Louis.
That's right. So I had asked Josh. I had Josh on. If you love baseball and you love the Carey family, you should watch episode 33 or listen to it.
Okay.
I think it's really good. Poor Josh's mother died in COVID and was one of those where he was not able to be there by her side due to COVID restrictions, which is, I've heard that more and more from people. Man, that is just like heart-wrenching when you hear that you can't be by the side of your loved one, let alone your parent.
Yeah.
When they pass.
My dad passed away 2 years ago.
Really?
This May. And our entire family was by his side when that happened. So I cannot imagine the families that lost family members, parents, children, grandparents during those COVID restriction years, and they weren't able to be side by side.
Is your mother still alive?
Yes, absolutely. Down in Northport, Alabama, across the river from Tuscaloosa is where I grew up.
Right.
Yep.
And you're a graduate of Roll Tide, right?
Yes, graduate of the University of Alabama. Yes.
I couldn't get it out. We should give a shout out to Jessica, who's in the studio with us. She actually can't be seen. That's the wrong camera. Put your hand out there again. Let's just see if it. Okay, well, there's her hand. Jessica Middlebrooks. No. Luther. Gosh, why do I have that name on my mind? You know what? The problem is we just came from an event. Where I saw Mark, and I'm like, we have scheduled this episode for today at 2:30, and then I go to this event, the Madison Visionary Partners Awards, and I'm like, well, there's Mark.
Yeah, we just bumped into each other.
And then, I'm going as Mantech, my employer, and I'm sure you're a little bit like, yeah, who's this guy? Oh, and it fires off. But for some reason, I've met a lot of Jessicas lately, and I get the last names confused, and a lot of Allisons.
Well, this is the best Jessica in town.
The only one we need to know.
That's right.
And we might as well take this opportunity to do a quick shout out to Toni Eberhardt, who referred me to you.
Yes.
And she used to work for you or with you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Toni was one of our first hires at Mazda Toyota Manufacturing. She did a tremendous job and handed over a tremendous job to Jessica, and Jessica has taken it to the next level. So I really appreciate Toni helping us in those early days.
Yeah.
And really, kind of kicking off our community relations, media relations, government relations activities. She kind of set the blueprint in place. helped handpick Jessica as her backfill.
Yeah.
And again, Jessica has just taken it to the next level.
Well, good job, Jessica.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
good. That's awesome to hear. Oops, I keep doing that. All right. Well, I keep bringing it up. Do you know your heritage of your surname? You know it's Irish, right?
Yes, I think at one time it was spelled Brasealle or something like that, something close.
And it's something to do. I mean, you never know with these sites and what you're looking at.
Yeah.
'Cause a name, I could tell someone, hey, did you know your name means Prince of Calm? Like, no, it doesn't. And like, well, I could swear I found an internet site and that's what it said. Like, no, it means this. Do you know what it means?
I do not.
Yeah.
I know the Brazils kind of arrived in the United States in I think Virginia and South Carolina.
Yeah, it says the 19th century saw a great wave of Irish families leaving Ireland for the distant shores of North America and Australia. And I guess you guys were amongst them.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
And I don't know, have you done any of your family history? You know how far back you go?
I haven't, but I had a relative that did that, I guess about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I learned some of the history of the family at that time.
Do you ever get frustrated that you have one of those last names and you have to correct people? It's not Brazil, the country. It's Brazeal, Zeal, and it may be the first time they've spelled it like that. Does that
course.
get out of your nerves?
Yeah. Usually it's pronounced Brazeal.
Brazeal.
So Mark Brazeal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting. We have a friend that when my wife and I moved to Madison back in 2002, we decided to join Trinity Baptist Church on Hughes Road. And we joined the church and, got to make friends there at the church. And one of our friends was Denise and Mark Brazeal.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Trinity is the home of Mark Brazeal and Mark Brazeal. So, yeah.
No, that's
similar
gonna
names.
confuse people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the tail of the tape. They used to use that in boxing a lot, right? The tail of the tape was just some of the...
Also baseball, to measure a home run.
That's right, where they would just kind of go through some of the particulars. But Mark Brazeal is... Are you the head of... Are you the top official in the U.S. or in Alabama for Toyota Mazda Manufacturing?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
And a lot of people get confused about my position there at Mazda Toyota, and sometimes people will say, the head of Mazda Toyota Manufacturing, which is incorrect. And I always use that as an opportunity to kind of explain our organization structure.
Well, and I think you're and we're going to get all into this.
Okay.
It's unique, right? That what has transpired and what you have built and what you guys are building for the two companies is unique. And so when you look at someone's title at times, I'm sure it still requires explanation, right? As far as what you do on a daily basis. But in short, in 2018, was that the groundbreaking in 2018 for the facility out here in Limestone County?
Yes.
Huntsville City.
Yes.
To create, the two companies come together, Mazda and Toyota, and they want to build and they want to collaborate, right, on the manufacturing process, with the Apollo line creating the Corolla Cross and the Discovery line creating the CX-50.
That's correct.
The Mazda CX-50, correct?
Yes.
And from that, though, there's a lot that goes into that. It's 1,500 acres, and you're gonna let's first talk about the environmental impact, because I thought that was fascinating, where you have this little pygmy whitefish. Right.
Spring pygmy sunfish.
Actually, let me just bring it up. I think I have a picture of it. Spring pygmy sunfish. There it is.
Yes.
And even though that looks like it's a sizable fish, my understanding is they don't exceed like an inch in length. They're tiny.
Inch and a half. Yes.
And have you seen one of these?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they like a real fast fish? And are they? This is brilliant in color, but are they that brilliant in person?
Yes, it really is a beautiful little fish. I can't speak to its speed, though. But it most definitely is a beautiful little fish that most certainly needs and deserves environmental protection. And that was really and truly one of our first goals and objectives when we first broke ground.
Right.
Was how do we break ground on a 1,500-acre site and really protect the sunfish during all the site work activity. And of course, we worked in collaboration with the city of Huntsville to help us protect the habitat of the spring pygmy sunfish during that kind of earth-moving site work phase.
Yeah.
Of course, we have remained committed to protect the sunfish, and based on data, the spring, creek, swamp kind of habitat complex has better water quality than it probably has in generations, and the population is increasing as well. So
Yeah.
we have a very cherished neighbor.
Yeah.
Something that we have, worked in collaboration with multiple organizations, agencies to help us protect, because we may be experts in building SUVs, but not necessarily protecting, an endangered species. So we have collaborated with a lot of agencies and organizations to help us understand what's necessary to do to protect the sunfish, and executed that plan. And it's something to be really proud of.
And let's talk about his friend, the snail.
Yes.
Because that's the other one.
Yes.
The Campanella.
That's correct.
What's
the slender campanella?
The slender campanella.
Snail. Yep.
And both of these are endemic.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I had to remind myself means only found in that little location.
Yes.
Over there, right?
Yeah.
I guess indigenous means it can be like in Alabama, but in other waters. And endemic is it's only right there.
It's right there.
That's it.
That's its habitat.
That's right.
Yep.
So go into a little bit more detail on what you all have to do year upon year. I think there's a growth target you have to hit, or a preservation target of its population has to increase by 10% or something like that year upon year. And how do you, what took place to kind of put in that mechanism to control that, to monitor that? How do you go about doing that?
Okay. Of course, we have to go back to 2018 and
Sure.
in 2019 in the first phase of construction. And again, the first phase of construction is a lot of site work. I remember one time, there must have been over 100 large John Deere tractors out on the site pulling, these big pieces of equipment that's designed to do site work and prepare the land for a manufacturing site to be built upon it. The risk in that phase is that when there is a heavy rainfall event, which Alabama has those in the spring and the summertime, that sediment can wash off the site and into local creeks and waterways. When sediment enters into a river, a aquatic habitat, it depletes the oxygen level in the habitat, and that can endanger any species in the habitat. So you have to protect the site from sediment coming off the site and into ditches, and then later the ditches carry the sediment water into aquatic habitat.
Okay.
You do that through what is called construction best management practices. Okay. The unique thing is at that time, in that phase, actually, Mazda Toyota Manufacturing did not have responsibility for all that site work and groundwork that was being done. The city of Huntsville did that on behalf of Mazda Toyota. They were like, hey, we know you need to compress your overall master schedule as much as possible. You need to get this plant up and running as soon as possible. Let us do this job for you, and you guys can focus on the design of your production lines, of the building, the early hiring, those types of things. So the city of Huntsville helped us, and they had responsibility for the site work in that early phase, and then later they handed it over to us once the site work was completed.
Okay.
So I have to speak to the city of Huntsville's commitment and collaboration. Collectively, we decided what were the best management practices to put in place.
So real quick on that, like, is it a practice a matter if we have a heavy rainfall?
Yep.
Is it you build things in the infrastructure such that you don't have to come back the next morning. Let's say it rains at night.
Yeah.
And it rains a ton, right?
Yep.
But you put things in place where you don't necessarily have to come back in the morning or right away to monitor what's going on. You've built things that are going to withstand that.
Yep.
For some period of time before you have to come back in and check levels or whatever.
That's correct. You've put in necessary protective measures to protect the site from any sediment coming off,
Okay.
even if it's a 100-year type of rainfall event, okay? Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of linear feet of silt fence
Gotcha.
that was inspected on a weekly basis.
Wow.
And if there was a hole, even the size of your fist in the silt fence, it was repaired on a weekly basis.
How excited was that silt fence vendor when you were a partner? Like,
Can you
hey, guess
imagine?
what? We need 5 million feet of silt fence. Like, happy day.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
At one time I had that number. I can't remember what the number is, but let's just call it tens of thousands of linear feet of silt fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's one of the
And then
early
are
things
there
that you do too.
are there also like just constant oxygen level readers and stuff where, I guess nowadays with technology, you could probably check that on your phone? Yeah, like the people that are in charge of that.
Yeah. No, you still have to go to the site,
Yeah.
to the habitat, and we had a environmental partner that did that for us.
Okay.
They were out there on periodic basis doing oxygen level and other types of checks, audits.
Yeah.
And of course, on a periodic basis, they actually get in the water and they do a survey of the sunfish population as well. So it's more of a like a continuous monitoring program, and that's actually what we called it, a CMP, continuous monitoring program. You're checking the water quality, many different elements, but also checking the population as well. You get in the water and you do a survey.
Yeah.
You catch some fish and record that.
Well, I think this is important. The reason we're having this discussion is there's a lot more than just building cars, right?
Yes.
And putting in a plant that, even if it's a templated type of thing and Toyota's built something or Mazda's built something like this, there's a lot that goes into your job and your role to build that relationship with the city and the community. It's not just about hiring people, right? But it's like, hey, this is our community. We're excited you're here, but you better take care of it.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And kind of leave no trace type thing and just be a good citizen.
It was our first kind of challenge as a brand new company.
Right.
Can a major economic development project and environmental sustainability coexist?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, and we proved it.
So then let's go to, I believe you gave a talk once at an automotive conference, and you talked about the 4 pillars. The first was, I think that was the first pillar, or one of the pillars was the obstacles you had to overcome was first what we just talked about, the environmental protection. COVID had something in there too. And
yes.
So if you could, let's touch on COVID and then talk about those other main obstacles, which I think somewhat coincidentally corresponded with each calendar year, right? Or, just like this was the challenge that we faced in 19, 20, 21.
Okay,
Can you
sure.
comment on that?
Yeah, sure. So, again, kind of the challenge in 2019 was, the site work phase and how to do it responsibly, how to do it so that the spring pygmy sunfish and the slender campanella snail could be protected. So that was kind of an early challenge. And, you create your team, your business partners, you collaborate, and you come up with great solutions, and you implement them. And then, of course, you got to check them.
Yeah.
And if something's not working, you got to decide what will work. Overall, we kind of call that cycle the PDCA cycle. You make a plan. You execute the plan, and then you check it. How's the plan going? How's the execution of the plan going? And if you're not achieving the desired results, then you have to do something. You have to take an action. So we call that PDCA, plan, do, check, act. And you just do it continuously. And you got to understand that even the best laid plans, you're going to need to change them because stuff is going to happen out of your control.
Yeah.
And it's going to impact you, and you got to be flexible.
Now, is PDCA a Toyota? Came out of the Toyota organization?
Absolutely. It is a Toyota concept. It's taught in every Toyota plant globally. Since, we're a joint venture, Mazda Toyota, we kind of brought that best practice from Toyota to the joint venture.
Gotcha.
And that's one thing I can talk about maybe later is, that's really the concept of Mazda Toyota Manufacturing. Take the best technology, take the best practices from both parent companies, combine them, and try to make a new best.
Yeah.
That's what Mazda Toyota is all about. But going back to the kind of the historical timeline. So that was kind of, 2019. We get into 2020 and there's this, coronavirus 19 is making the news.
This pesky little
And,
pandemic.
hey, we're busy starting up a brand new, 2 production line, joint venture manufacturing plant. We'll pay attention to that, when it kind of shows up in the United States, which obviously it did.
Yeah.
And then it shows up in Alabama. Now, we have a plan to build a plant in 2020. How do you do that in the middle of a pandemic? Again, you rely on business partners. You rely on the support from elected officials. And you rely on, the collaboration of in our case, our contractors, our general contractors that were helping us build the plant. I remember, one of the key things was Governor Ivey's decision that, automotive manufacturing, the production of vehicles in the state of Alabama was, what was the term at that time? Essential business.
Oh, right.
Essential business.
Right.
And, I remember calling Secretary Canfield and I said, is the construction of a manufacturing plant, automotive manufacturing plant, essential business? He said, Mark, you better believe it is. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. Okay, so how do you build a plant and protect the construction workers that are building that plant from COVID during that time? A lot of construction is conducted side by side. You got one construction member working right beside another construction worker.
Yeah.
And no, they're not MTM team members, not MTM employees, but we wanted to protect them just like we would one of our team members. Wanted to have respect for their life, for their health and wellness. So we stopped construction. We suspended construction operations for a couple of weeks, and we, MTM, our safety department at that time, collaborated with the general contractors, the subcontractors, and we reviewed every single construction job that was being performed at that time. And we made a decision, can we do it safely? And, of course, in some cases, the answer was yes, because maybe it was a worker working independently. But maybe it was other jobs in which workers were working side by side. So, okay, well, how do we protect them if they're working side by side?
And did it help just a little bit? Like, was it a little easier when you're just doing outside work? It gets a lot more difficult when it's all closed in.
Absolutely.
And now the workers are inside.
Yes.
Right. And so that I'm assuming that was a much slower process.
Yes, it was.
Right.
So, yes, it slowed the overall schedule of construction down.
Yeah.
But again, are you trying to just do things quickly? Or are you trying to protect people's safety and ensure that you don't have some type of COVID outbreak on the construction site that later can spread actually into the general community?
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that at all. So again, we were committed to really and truly protecting the construction worker, but by protecting the construction worker and ensuring no spread on our construction site, that was a way that we could contribute to protecting the overall community as well.
Gotcha.
So we had all types of changes that we had to implement. We did construction a little bit different than other Toyota plants did construction, 15, 20, 25 years ago when they were building their plants. Yes, it slowed us down. There was a cost to the slowdown, but I think we did the right thing for sure.
Got it. And then highlight, was there any other obstacle before the pandemic, or was the next big obstacle after that?
There were some obstacles even before the pandemic. You used the word earlier, unique. Mazda Toyota Manufacturing is very unique. It's actually unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
Two companies coming together to build a manufacturing plant with two production lines, with two brand new model SUVs being produced by 4,000 brand new team members. That's really unprecedented. As far as Mazda's history, Toyota's history, neither parent company had ever started up a manufacturing plant with two production lines, two vehicle assembly lines. You normally start with one line, and maybe 10 years, 15 years later, you add a second line. There's multiple Toyota plants, vehicle assembly plants, that still, after 25 years in operation, only have one line.
Really?
So the size of our plant at startup was very unique. 3.7 million square feet built at one time. So a challenge was just finding enough construction workers to build the plant. Facebook was building a huge facility here in Huntsville at the same time. Buildings, whether it's residential, construction or commercial or manufacturing plants. It was really a economic boom period here. It still is, matter of fact. And those plants need construction workers to build them. They don't just kind of pop up.
Yeah, even now, you were talking about your 100 John Deere earth movers out there, and I look everywhere right now around Madison and Huntsville. It's under construction.
Yes.
And I'm amazed at the amount of equipment that's there, the number of workers that are at sites. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. I don't know what other word to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for you to be able, and I remember just in my career, right, I've done a lot of things in government where you're constantly trying to sell whatever you're doing to get resources you need to make your project or whatever the highest priority. Like that's just always the game. How do I get what I want, and how do I get it done sooner than this other person or this other group? And for you, that's a big thing. To even get contractors, they win, but how do they make your effort number one priority over all the other projects going on, which could have been the amphitheater or Joe Davis Stadium, just to use some things that come into mind, or when the zoo comes, right? Like everyone has a need for heavy equipment and workers, so that must have been a huge effort just to get that going.
It really was. And, honestly, there were not enough construction workers, contractors in North Alabama.
Yeah.
The general contractors and the subcontractors were bringing in construction workers from all over the state, all over the South, really and truly all over the nation. In some of the states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, some other states, they were in total lockdown at that time.
Right.
So the fact that we had a manufacturing plant being constructed during that time actually gave construction workers from those states a job.
That's awesome.
So they came down here, in a lot of cases, stayed in extended stay hotels. In a lot of cases, they brought their trailers, their RVs. I think most of the campgrounds were full in this area of construction workers who were in their trailers and RVs. Because they'll come down and spend 6 months on the job, and they don't try to find a house or an apartment to lease. They'll bring an RV or trailer and they'll live in that. And I remember talking to Mayor Bowling from Decatur, and he mentioned that to me. He said, "Man, every campground we have in Decatur, Morgan County is full with construction workers." Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
So
it's also interesting post-pandemic. The number of people who now just work remotely, but are like RV life people now, right?
Right.
They're like, you know what? Screw this. I can work wherever I have an internet connection. I'm just going to live on the road.
Yep. But I think, so we gave, of course, again, everybody that was interested in, any type of construction work in the state of Alabama. We gave them an opportunity, for work at the site, and really and truly gave work opportunities to people in other states that did not have any opportunity for work during that time.
Sure.
So,
can you now comment? I don't know if I've ever heard you comment on this, but this whole chip thing, with new cars, the lack of chips, right? The
Yep.
What do you call the processors, if you will, right? That cars
microprocessors,
the microprocessors,
electronic chips, yes.
that ultimately affected. If we're not making new cars, then the used car market shot up. Unfortunately, I had to buy like 3 used cars because I've got 5 cars now with like 4 kids that drive, and that was not a good time to buy used cars. Rental cars, because of pandemic, they had sold them all off, and so now even the rental car industry is an issue still with supply, right? But can you talk about that now? Was that, I can't remember if you focused on that or not in one of the talks one of the speeches you gave when I was using this research for this, but did that hit you as well, the chip shortage?
Yes, it did, and yes, it continues to impact us as well.
Yeah.
So we got through the the site work phase, the construction phase, the equipment installation phase, the production trial phase, the hiring training phase, and we started operations. And once we started operations, our production capacity has been somewhat limited by the global shortage of microprocessors or chips.
Right.
And it's something that doesn't just affect the automotive industry. It affects,
Everything now.
everything. Absolutely. Everything.
The Internet of Things.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, everything needs some type of electronic chip to operate these days.
Yeah.
Whether it's your refrigerator, microwave, washing machine.
Right.
Or your Corolla Cross or CX-50. Yeah. So
Nice plug. You see what he did there.
So yeah, it hasn't only impacted us, but it's impacted other manufacturing industries as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But it still does continue to impact us. What do? Right now, we don't have enough supply to actually meet our production plan. So in some cases, we have what we call non-production days. The plant's open. Our team members come to work. We focus on making improvements in safety and quality and productivity. We have some kind of manufacturing systems. We call them process ownership or standardized work management systems, and we engage our team members into those systems to make improvements. We have a long list of many items that we want to work on, make better.
Yeah.
And we use those non-production days to do that. We hire on a weekly basis about 50 new team members every week.
Wow.
We've been doing it since 2021. And
so you're still trying to get to that ultimate number of, I think it was 4,000.
4,000.
Plus you have the 2,000 partners.
Yes.
In the form of suppliers and partners, right?
Yep. So real-time update. Yesterday, we were 10 short of that number.
Really?
Probably by the end of today, we've hit the number.
There you go.
So that kind of meets the original hiring plan as we ramp up for the start of second shift production on our CX-50. Okay. So the Apollo line that produces a Corolla Cross, it's been running 2 shifts now since last July. This Discovery line, which produces the CX-50, will begin second shift production in July of this year.
Okay. And each of those have a total volume of 150,000.
That's right. Yep. So we've now kind of finished the overall hiring plan, and we will work on training those new team members so that they can start production for the second shift start in July. Of course, we'll have to continue with some backfill hiring, but yes, we've now hit the original number. So yes, honestly, a big milestone. We've been in continuous hiring and training mode since January of 2021.
There you go.
Yeah. So let me go back to the chip issue.
I don't mean to derail you.
Yeah. So we got the production lines running, started producing, and that kind of issue hit us. So again, how do we manage? Number one, we're working with both parent companies to understand on a monthly basis what the inventory of those electronic parts are, what the allocation will be. We're not the only plant that's building a Toyota vehicle or a Mazda vehicle in North America.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple Toyota plants in the United States, and in a lot of cases we use the same electronic chip part. So somebody's got to decide how many we get, how many the Camry gets, how many the Tundra gets. So ultimately, once we understand our part allocation, we develop a monthly production plan. Right now, some of those plans will include the non-production day that I was talking about. But we offer our team members full work on those non-production days. And this is a commitment. This is a commitment to our team members that they can depend on a 40-hour work week, even when maybe we're only going to be producing SUVs 32 hours of that 40-hour work week. That fifth day, hey, we're going to be here. The doors are open. We're going to, again, work on making things better, including doing some training and those types of things during those non-production days. Now, we also give our team members an option if they want to use some pay time off for that day. Of course, they can do that as well. But I communicate this to all of our new hires that if we do have a part shortage, we're not just going to send you home without pay.
Yeah.
We're going to be committed to your secure pay for the day, for the week as well. So I think that's something that
how
our
much
team
of
members
that
appreciate.
To some degree, that has to be, in retrospect now, right, as this has transpired, somewhat of a silver lining and a positive, because it's the demise of a lot of organizations is the lack of documentation, the lack of attention to kind of what we did. Do you have a knowledge repository? If there was a problem, a lot of times it's as if it just happened for the first time versus some knowledge base that you can access, or something where, oh yeah, we've had that problem before. This is how you fix it.
Yes.
And I would imagine that there has to be, you're just actually becoming even more efficient and better at doing things, or allowing for regression testing or stress testing or just whatever, so that when you are in production, you're actually probably going to be far more efficient because you took advantage of those production days or non-production days. Is that kind of what you're seeing play out? Like, man, this is actually somewhat of a good thing that allows us to somewhat pause and recalibrate, if you will, and or just ensure that we're sound in our business practice.
Yeah, so let me be honest.
Sure.
A non-production day is a bad thing.
Sure.
As a plan, we had a plan to produce, say, 150,000 Corolla Crosses CX50s on an annualized basis. A part shortage impacts that plan in a negative way. Now, you're not building vehicles, and when you're not building vehicles, you're not making operating income, right? So it's a bad thing. But how do you turn a bad thing as best as you can into a good thing? Well, by making that next day of production better.
Yeah.
By making some type of improvement on that non-production day. Now, again, that improvement could be, relative to a piece of production equipment, or it could be a manual production process that a team member has to perform. Maybe we can make a Kaizen, a continuous improvement. We can make a Kaizen, make that process safer, for the team member. Make it easier, make it more repeatable. That's the mission on those non-production days, so that the next production day, we're a little bit better company than we were the previous production day. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. Non-production is not a good thing. Yeah. Well, how again can we turn it into a good thing, or at least take advantage of it?
I guess unless the goal changes, right? Oh, it's not going to be 150. Let's be fair here. Let's be realistic. It's going to be 120,000. But still, your point. Over time, it's something has to give.
Yes. Now, to be honest, there is a little bit of a playbook for this type of a situation. So let me go back to a point in my career with Toyota in which we had this pretty much same situation, and it was 2011. So 2011, the tsunami hit. Well, first the earthquake, and then the tsunami hit Japan.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of Toyota suppliers that were literally wiped away, gone. So all the tooling, the equipment is gone, just like that.
Wow.
A couple of the suppliers produced a part in which there was no other global supplier for that part. One was a paint pigment producer, and another one actually was an electronic producer.
Wow.
So those inventories were, going to be quickly drained. At any point in time, you have a supply chain. You've got parts in the receiving dock at a manufacturing plant. You've got parts en route on trucks, on train, on cargo ships coming across the ocean. You have some number of parts waiting at maybe the dock to be shipped out.
Yeah.
So you have some limited inventory at any given time. But the realization was that inventory was going to drain out completely, rapidly. And it was going to take multiple months to get a new supplier in place, certified, and get those parts going, to the vehicle assembly plants.
Gotcha.
So in 2011, the tsunami hit. Again, these suppliers were wiped away, and suddenly, there was a realization that there was going to be a part shortage, a global part shortage for Toyota. And each global region had to develop a strategy of how to kind of extend the inventory as much as possible, and also understand, what to do on upcoming non-production days.
Yeah.
We had to develop a very large playbook of how to take advantage of non-production days back in 2011.
Yeah.
And we're kind of using that playbook here today.
How long did that last until you were at kind of full capacity and getting all the supplies?
The earthquake tsunami was in April of 2011, and we were able to, in the United States, start back full production in August of 2011 that year. But we had non-production days, May, June, July, and early part of August back in 2011. Now, something unique, unprecedented happened in the state of Alabama in 2011. If you
The tornado.
April 27th, the tornadoes, right? I think that was the date, April 27th, 2011. Yeah, the super outbreak of tornadoes. So we had a unique situation at that time. I was at the Huntsville engine plant, in which we had a production plan to produce engines 1 day a week. And then 4 days a week, we had non-production. So what we did is, again, make improvements on the production lines, the production processes. Also doing a lot of training. But we asked our team members, would you like to go out and do community service in the communities that were hit by the tornadoes? Whether it's, working at a distribution center that is receiving in, clothes and waters and those types of things, and helping organize the distribution of those types of materials that were coming into relief centers.
Yeah.
Or actually go out to the field and help, people in the community that can't do debris cleanup.
Yeah.
Because the problem for people was they needed to get their debris from their home site to the curb. FEMA would pick up the debris at the curb.
Gotcha.
But, how does a senior citizen, how does someone with disabilities get debris from the home site to the curb? The answer is they can't without help.
Right.
So we partnered with the Red Cross and other organizations, and literally on any given day had hundreds of our team members out all over North Alabama, even down to Tuscaloosa. We would take buses down to Tuscaloosa to do debris cleanup for residents that just couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And they were literally sitting and waiting for someone to show up and help them. And you remember those days. It was massive destruction all over the state. At the end, so we were able to kind of kick that type of activity off in May, all of May, June, part of July. Again, 3 to 4 days a week, we had our team members out in the fields doing that type of work. Once we got back in full operations, I can remember we had given over 27,000 hours
Wow.
of collective community service doing that type of work during that time. So now, again, that was 3 to 4 non-production days every week, week after week after week, month after month.
Sure.
We don't have near that type of situation right now.
Right.
But Jessica and I, we had a little bit of a brainstorming session just this week on, what type of community support type of activities can we do during maybe a one non-production day a month or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're looking at those types of opportunities right now to get our team members out supporting the local communities on non-production days.
Let me show you a picture that Jessica sent me, if you can comment. And I just see a tornado in the distance. Can you talk me through what's going on in this shot?
Yes. So that is a tornado that passed by the Toyota engine plant in North Huntsville. That tornado looks pretty close, but it was a pretty big tornado. It was probably 2 miles away from the manufacturing plant. I did not take that picture. I was in the storm shelter.
Someone else did, yeah.
But
your closed circuit camera got it.
Yeah, but it kind of hit between shifts, between the end of first shift and the start of second shift. And we actually had one of our production supervisors, production group leaders, that pulled up in the parking lot and was trying to run to the plant as that tornado passed to the north of us, and took his phone out. And
what year was that?
I can't remember.
You don't remember?
That was not the 2011 event. That was
some other time.
Some other time. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't. I lived in Virginia at that time, and it wasn't until 2012, the following year, I came down to play some of the trail, and I played Hampton Cove and Muscle Shoals and all that, and then the Silver Lakes course, which is got some destruction from that tornado.
Yep.
And so it was like, whoa, like, obviously I was aware of it, but I had kind of forgotten about it, gone on with my life, and I came back and was reminded, like, right there, like, wow, they were still. I mean, it decimated a lot of that golf course.
Yes, it did. Yep. A funny story.
Sure.
My wife is from the state of Kentucky, and Kentucky, Western Kentucky, where she's from, they have some number of tornadoes, but not near the number of tornadoes that occur in the state of Alabama. Before I started working with Toyota back in 2002, I was working for a Tier 1 automotive supplier in Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington really doesn't get many tornadoes. My wife is from Kentucky, and honey, man, I got this job opportunity down in Alabama, my home state. It's with Toyota, and she was really, really excited.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Oh, but Alabama has all those tornadoes." So again, I grew up in Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa has a fair number of tornadoes. So I said, "Oh, don't worry. That's all, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, South. North Alabama doesn't get any tornadoes."
Yeah. Wink at her.
Yeah,
Somebody in the room.
Exactly. So she has reminded me of that over the years. Yeah.
So you know what? Let's do this. Let's just go back. You just touched on that time period, and talk about starting your career in textiles and then making that switch into the automotive. And then I want to come back to Toyota, but I have an article from 2015, and that will launch us into talking about, Mazda Toyota Manufacturing, and another discussion there. But so you go to University of Alabama, you graduate,
Yes.
and you get in, but you go into textiles.
Yes.
Talk about that. What kind of work were you doing? Who were you working for? And what was your kind of interest in pursuing that?
When I first started at the University of Alabama, my intent at that time was to major in accounting. After my junior year and taking multiple accounting courses, I decided that wasn't necessarily the best fit for me.
Right.
So I decided at that time to make a change to general management, industrial management.
Okay.
And I wanted to work in manufacturing. And at that time, textile manufacturing, the textile industry in the state of Alabama was very, very strong. The one company that I had the fortune to go to work for back in 1993 had, I think at that time, 8 manufacturing plants in the state of Alabama. So I know textiles these days, the industry literally kind of in the late 90s packed up and moved offshore. But at that time, in the early 90s and all the way back through the history, was a very strong manufacturing base in the state of Alabama in the South. So I did. I started my manufacturing career in textiles for a brand name that everybody would recognize. It was Fruit of the Loom.
Okay.
And no, I did not play the part of the apple or banana or whatever in some commercials. So,
not your department.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I was in a cotton mill. But I started my career in a cotton mill for Fruit of the Loom in West Alabama. Yeah.
Okay.
I had the fortune to work at some different locations. In 1996, I was transferred up to Campbellsville, Kentucky. Ultimately, that's where I met my wife.
That's right.
But in 1997 or so, I began to realize that the textile industry was on the decline.
Okay.
In fact, the plant that I worked at in Campbellsville, Kentucky, ended up closing. So I got the message, that this industry is declining. But about the same time, the automotive industry really started to take hold in the southern United States, including the state of Alabama.
You got Mercedes-Benz in Tuscaloosa,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember having a conversation with a friend, 1994 or so, and my buddy said, "Man, why don't you apply at the Mercedes plant?" And I said, "Man, that seems really interesting." But I just got promoted with Fruit of the Loom, and again, 8 manufacturing plants in the state of Alabama. Wow, there was over 20 manufacturing plants that Fruit of the Loom had at that time, all over the South. And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Fruit of the Loom." That decision maybe wasn't the best decision, but I had the fortune to make that transition from textiles into the automotive industry in 1999, and then in 2002 had the opportunity to move back home to the state of Alabama and go to work for Toyota.
Now, real pause, real quick. Was your father in manufacturing, or was there someone in your family you looked up to that was in that career?
Not my dad. My dad worked for the state of Alabama, but I had an uncle in the state of North Carolina, and he worked in textiles. He worked in textiles his entire career. So yes, he gave me some encouragement to maybe start, if I was interested in manufacturing, to
and he was
try
like
textiles.
He was like your favorite uncle?
I don't have a favorite uncle. I had a long list of great uncles. I was very fortunate. My mom had 4 brothers. My dad had a couple of brothers, so a pretty long list of uncles that I had.
All right.
Yeah.
We don't need
uncle,
to list them.
One uncle in Tuscaloosa. He was a partner with a gentleman in Tuscaloosa, and they had a small manufacturing plant.
Okay.
So I kind of got some inspiration from him, and then my uncle who was in textiles to go into manufacturing and try textile manufacturing.
Now, tell the story about golfing that got you the job, right? With Toyota.
Yes. I used to love. I still love to play golf. I don't have an opportunity to play golf as much these days as I did when I was in my early 20s and first married with no kids. But I was in Lexington and wanted to go play golf on a Saturday, and I talked to all my buddies, and I couldn't get anybody to go play golf with me. So I said, okay, I'll just go play by myself. So I told my wife, I'm just going to go to a course and I'll play, by myself maybe, or a lot of times, when you're individual,
They match you up.
They match you up.
Yeah.
So they matched me up with two other guys, and we played the round, and of course started to chit chat. Found out that one was a nurse, and one was a recruiter, and he focused his recruiting on the automotive industry, and he did a lot of recruiting for Toyota. Toyota's largest plant in North America is in Georgetown, Kentucky, about a 20-minute drive from Lexington to the north. And he had a long career recruiting for Toyota. Every now and then he would say, "Hey, Mark, there's an opportunity," and it would be in the automotive industry. And I would tell him, "Bill, I'm not interested. I'm happy, where I am."
Yeah.
And finally, after us playing golf, a couple of years, he said, "Mark, I know what you always tell me." He said, "But just listen this time." I said, "Okay, Bill. What's the job opportunity?"
Yeah.
He said, "Number one, it's Toyota, and number two, it's back in your home state in Alabama." And I said, "Bill, you've got my attention. What do I need to do?" So just luck, fortune, God's plan. Got matched up with a recruiter that did a lot of recruiting for Toyota, and that turned into an interview opportunity, and later a job offer, and it changed my life.
And he told you to downplay the tornadoes with your wife, right? When it was time to
exactly.
give that advice.
Yeah. Again, depending on what your beliefs are, karma or God's plan, whatever, just how the universe works. I call it God's plan, but he he definitely put two paths to intersect on that Saturday morning.
It's not necessarily by chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So by studying industrial management, then you had equipped yourself to kind of it wasn't just you're a textile person and I don't know what to do now. Like I'm just switching disciplines of manufacturing and hey, I'm going to go in the automotive world.
Yes.
Right. And they saw you had some experience. Toyota did. Was the interview process? Talk me through the interview process. Was it easy? Was it difficult? And were you nervous interviewing with Toyota?
Well, first of all, there was a 3-year job at a tier 1 supplier,
right,
before Toyota,
right.
So that's the first automotive company that I worked for.
Okay.
So that was in between the Textiles and Toyota.
Gotcha.
One thing I've learned to really love about manufacturing is the teamwork that takes place. I played different sports growing up as a kid, Little League and all those things. And I love sports. I love being on a team, participating on a team. And you have that spirit of teamwork in manufacturing. So whether it was textile manufacturing, automotive manufacturing, you have that spirit of teamwork.
Yeah.
Cars don't produce themselves. It takes a team to produce them. And it takes a team working together to produce them more efficiently, safer, with better quality. It takes a team to hire, the team members and to train them. It takes a team to understand, where there are opportunities for cost improvement. Parts don't just show up at the receiving dock.
Right.
It takes a team to order those parts, to make the production schedules. It takes a team to engage in the local community and help not only make the Mazda Toyota Manufacturing plant better, but try to help make the community better as well. So I love teamwork, and I love the spirit and essence of teamwork. And that's one of the reasons that I've stayed in manufacturing for 30 years is you feel that. I mean, you can just walk the lines and you feel that. Even in the office, you feel that spirit of teamwork. So that's kept me in manufacturing. Now, automotive manufacturing is completely different than textiles.
Yeah.
It's more fast-paced. It's more challenging. There's bigger, more complex problems, when it comes to quality and those types of things than textiles. But I really enjoy that as well. I enjoy problems. I enjoy challenges. And you have those in automotive manufacturing. Now, what I really enjoy is the solving of those problems and overcoming those challenges, again, through the spirit of teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess let me go. When you made that jump to that first tier
Yes.
one group,
Yep.
Did you have to kind of dig deep and remind yourself that you were kind of capable and it wasn't just about textiles and you were capable of, hey, it's just manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right. Or were you confident like, oh, I got this and I could work for any manufacturer manufacturing anything? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And there were a lot of lessons that I did have to learn and learn pretty quickly because, again, the automotive industry is very fast-paced. And when you're a supplier in the automotive industry, you feel that pace.
Oh, and they want it.
Yeah, exactly. Because the big vehicle assembly plants, and that's where we shipped our part to, there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 team members working in that plant. And those customers get pretty excited when you miss a shipment to them and you shut those lines down. Now, at this point in my career, I'm actually on that customer side, and we certainly at Mazda Toyota, at Mazda, at Toyota, certainly try to help our supplier partners solve their problems so they can deliver great quality parts on time. But man, when I was on the supplier side, we had some customers that maybe had a little bit different mentality.
Well done on using the excited in a different connotation.
Yeah.
Normally it's a very positive thing. They were excited.
Yeah, they get really excited when you shut their lines down. Yeah. And next thing you know, they want you to write a check and pay for that idle labor that sat there for the remaining part of the day with the line not running. So you feel that as a supplier, or at least I felt that.
Well, those chip makers are feeling that and have been feeling that, right?
So as a production supervisor, you feel that tension, and there were some days, yes, as a production supervisor, where I questioned, man, do I really want to work in this industry? Do I really want to do this long term? Can I survive this, long term? And, I kept telling myself yes, yes, and yes. And part of that, again, was due to the team members, to the team that I worked with every single day.
Yeah.
We all came to work ready to solve problems and overcome challenges and to, kind of do that together.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there were some tough days, some very, very long days, because I joined that company in the startup phase as well, before everything kind of got smoothed out and stabilized. And I remember some 12, 14-hour days. And again, you start asking yourself, man, is this something I really want to do for a long term? Yeah. And I kept answering again, yes, 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 I do want to do it. Although we have these kind of challenges, these kind of problems, got a great team that I'm working with. But again, finally the opportunity to join Toyota came, moved back to my state of Alabama. So I decided to leave that company and join Toyota.
So
a startup.
So when you're thinking about going to Toyota, so at this point now you're 3 years into the manufacture or the automotive industry.
Yes.
And a component of that. Was Toyota a gold standard for you?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know
Toyota was the gold standard customer
Were they?
for our company.
Sure.
Now, why? Unfortunately, there were several times when we shipped defective product to the customer, and I would have to go to the customer plant and kind of take a beating for shipping that defective part or numerous parts to the customer and the impact that it had, on their production operations. A lot of times we'd have to go there and do some rework, but man, time after time after time, that experience would include taking a beating from the quality department there at that customer plant.
Okay.
And honestly, a lot of the customer plants, a lot of the customers, I won't name the names of those companies.
Yeah.
They didn't care why you shipped them a defective part. They didn't care about the problem that you had in your operations. They just wanted good parts, and they want good parts on time. And if you don't deliver good parts on time, you're going to have to write a check.
Yeah.
But that was completely not Toyota's mentality. I always felt respected by the Georgetown, Kentucky plant, Toyota Motor Manufacturing Kentucky, TMMK. Even when we would ship them defective parts, they had patience, and in a lot of cases, they would actually come to our plant and help us identify the root cause to the problem. And they did that to help us improve our quality. They even would help come in and do what we call VAVE type of activities to help reduce the cost of the part, instead of just telling us, hey, reduce the cost of the part, and not helping us understand how to do it. We got that from a lot of companies. So, yeah, the experience with Toyota was completely different, and Toyota absolutely was the gold standard.
Okay.
And in my mind, I began to think, man, if I ever get the chance to work for Toyota, apply for a job at Toyota, I'm going to jump at that chance, because it seems that they have a really good culture.
Yeah.
Because at our worst moments as a supplier to them, they still treated us with respect and actually helped us solve our problems. They cared.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a target company to go to work for in a target industry.
What you just said, I have an article I'm going to share with you in a little bit that really highlights that from the Toyota Motor Company. But let me just ask you this: as a child of the South, right? And I it doesn't matter where you live, but just as growing up in the South, in America, right? We want American made, and yes, we have Detroit and we have Ford and Chrysler and everybody up there, but at the same, so is it difficult at all when you're in Alabama and you're from the U.S. and we want to support U.S. made stuff, but at the same time, Toyota is here, Mercedes is here, and they're an employer, right? And towns are depending on that. Just as the textiles moved away and they moved somewhere else, like there's my father-in-law worked for Maytag in Illinois, and they went to Mexico, so he's off doing other stuff.
Yep.
Like the industry changes. But did anybody ever give you grief over that kind of thing? Like, oh, how can you work for Toyota? Well, they're an American company too, right? There's an American operation. Business and economics are such that you build and you export. They're building our stuff there probably and exporting it to us. But did you ever wrestle with that, or was that ever kind of an issue just kind of growing up, and what people's perception of working for a foreign manufacturer?
No, not really. Okay. Again, I joined Toyota in 2002.
Yeah.
So I think by that time, number one, the transition from textiles to automotive manufacturing in the state of Alabama was well underway.
Okay.
By that time, Mercedes was in the state of Alabama. Honda was in the state of Alabama. So many hundreds, thousands of Alabamians were working at these, car companies. Yeah, the parent company was in Japan or Germany or Korea. But the local company was in the local community, employing local members.
Right.
So yeah, I've never really, heard of anybody, kind of, second guessing or questioning my decision to go to work for a Japanese car company, because everybody realizes, again, it's a Japanese car company, but they're providing job opportunities, career opportunities, giving back to the communities in the countries, in the communities in which they sell their vehicles.
And they make awesome cars.
Yeah. So it's and that's kind of a philosophy of Toyota is, when possible, when it makes good business sense, build where you sell. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's part of Mazda's philosophy, and that's why we have a joint manufacturing plant here, Mazda Toyota. So,
one thing I forgot to mention to you, I forgot to mention this fact when we were talking about the sunfish and the snail. Mm-hmm. And you look like Ethan. Oh, by the way, Ethan Woodruff is the guy bringing the zoo to North Alabama.
Oh yeah,
for NALS, North Alabama Zoological Society, right? You actually kind of have similar look, but he gave a bunch of facts. 166 species of fish in our waters in North Alabama, which is like crazy, right? Definitely the most east of, I don't know if it's just east of the Mississippi, it's like east of Colorado. It's nuts. And then, of course, you got those two rare things that we're trying to protect, right, that are endangered. But yeah, shout out to him, because it just makes North Alabama that much more appealing when it's like, oh yeah, we have the most fish. Oh yeah, we have this. Oh yeah, like there's just check, right? Why wouldn't you want to live here?
Yeah, just hundreds and hundreds of, I guess, nautical miles of rivers and streams and waterways in the state of Alabama. I heard at one time that Alabama's number 2 behind, I think, Alaska in the amount of waterways in which you can navigate some type of boat on. Yeah. Okay.
There was that, and that's what I was going to mention to you about that. I can't remember. But it's just the concept, even just, we were telling my boy, they go to Clemens, my 2 youngest boys, and one of them's on the archery team. I was like, there's 3 things we did not have in Virginia: archery, fishing, and bowling. And they offer those in high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, and not every kid's going to play football, basketball, soccer, wrestle, and it's nice that he actually has something to compete in, because he doesn't really like organized sports and stuff.
Yeah.
But, man, he fits in so well with the archery team.
My kids go to Bob Jones.
Yeah.
As my kids, I have 3 boys. My oldest is a sophomore at UAH. My middle son is a junior at Bob Jones, and my youngest son is a freshman at Bob Jones. As they grew up, we got kind of rezoned multiple times. So the kid, especially my oldest, I think he went to 3 different elementary schools. Spent time at Liberty Middle, and
but you never moved the house. Is that
we did
saying?
move once.
We moved once. Okay.
But he went to 3 elementary schools. He did go to 1 middle school, but he went to 2 high schools. He went to JC and then later Bob Jones. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which elementary school. It doesn't matter which middle school. It doesn't matter which high school. They're all great schools.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's unique about the city of Madison. But yeah, all types of opportunities for students, diverse opportunities for students to get engaged, all the way down, to the elementary level. Robotics teams, chess teams.
That's right. I was talking to the lady who's this, I guess the head of the city council. What's her name? I forget her name. Rhonda? No, not Rhonda. Renee.
Yeah, Renee.
And she was like, she's heading up the chess league and
chess
tournaments and stuff.
Absolutely.
I was like, I got to have you on, because my boys are getting into chess.
Yeah. 2 of my boys play soccer. Garrison, Evan plays soccer. My youngest Reese plays baseball. Evan and Garrison play for Bob Jones. Yes, my youngest plays baseball for Bob Jones' freshman team. Yes, this is a picture of.
So for those listening, we're surprising our guest right now with Jessica Luther right here. She gave me some pictures, and I think this is just good to slide these in. So I'm going to get through some, talk through these pictures, but then also let's just continue on whatever you want to talk about with the kids' sports.
Yeah.
But let's go. You're a coach here in this picture. We're the 4U champions.
Yes, 14U. So
Or 14. I'm sorry.
I try to, whether my boys want me to or not, I try to coach them through their sports. I've coached multiple baseball teams. I've coached multiple basketball teams. With a fortune this year that my 14U basketball team in the basketball city league of Madison, we won the 14U championship.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, which one is your son?
He's in the middle there. He's the 6'3".
He's the tall one.
Yeah,
Wow.
kid there in the middle. But he and a buddy, they actually played basketball at Discovery. Actually, he and two other buddies that are on the team played basketball at Discovery Middle School. They decided to focus on baseball at Bob Jones, and neither played basketball at Bob Jones their freshman year, but they wanted to play together on a team and play in the Madison City League. So we had the good fortune of going undefeated.
There you go.
And winning the league this year.
Because of the coaches.
Absolutely not. Part of it was having a 6'3" kid on the team.
Now tell me about this picture of the Celtics.
Oh yes. So this is me and a good buddy, Pete Woods. Pete, in this case, was the head coach. I was the assistant coach. But my middle son, Evan, number 14, this is our team this year as well. We had a very successful season. Took the league winner to the final moments of a game. I think we lost by 4 points in the tournament to the 18U league winner. Ultimately, they won the regular season and the tournament championship, and again we took them to the final moments of the tournament game.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's see the next one here. Oh, there's just some community service. It looks like.
Yeah, that is community service back in 2011. Me and some co-workers were planting trees at Mill Creek Elementary in Madison. Yeah.
I love Mill Creek because that's near the Bradford Creek Trail, right?
Yes. Yep.
I like to run that
Yep.
trail. And now, are you the one on the very bottom on the ground tugging?
Yeah,
you?
that's me.
Okay, I figure as much. Okay, and there you are. Are you on safari here?
That was this past summer. How'd you get this picture?
Well, maybe her.
Yeah, that was this past summer. My family and I, we went to Busch Gardens, went to Tampa, went to Sarasota, went to Busch Gardens, and that was on the kind of the safari at Busch Gardens. My family and I, we love baseball. All of my boys played baseball. Evan and Garrison played Little League baseball. They played soccer, for Bob Jones. Soccer and baseball, unfortunately, is a spring sport, so they kind of had to pick one
or the other.
Or the other. But we love baseball. And we try to go to Major League Baseball Park every summer, go to a game. So this past summer, we went to Tampa, Sarasota area, and went to a Tampa Bay Rays game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great bucket list type thing, right?
It is.
We've
been to Houston, Colorado Rockies in Denver. One summer went to Chicago and went to Cubs and White Sox. Been to Nationals, the Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Kansas City Royals. So yeah.
I would imagine Fenway's high on your list.
It is. We went to Boston.
Did you?
But the Red Sox were out of town. So we did a tour of Fenway, but we want to go back and go to a game. Yeah.
What about Camden Yards? Do you have Baltimore? Have you ever desire to go there?
I'd love to go to Camden. We tried to pull it off when we went to D.C., but we were only able to schedule a game with the Nationals. The Orioles were out of town.
Interesting. I might have a picture later of D.C. I might. Here's the next one I want to show you or have you talk to. This is, I guess, you hit the 1 million engines.
Yes, that was a very significant milestone at the engine plant in Huntsville. That is when we had produced 1 million engines there at Team MAL. Yep.
Okay. So let's cycle back. We were in that kind of early 2000s time frame, but let's fast forward when you get sent to West Virginia. And is it Buffalo, West Virginia? Is that where you were sent?
Yes, Buffalo, West Virginia is the town that has a very large Toyota engine and transmission manufacturing plant.
Okay.
My family and I, we lived in Hurricane. It's spelled hurricane. It's pronounced hurricane. And if you say hurricane, everybody knows that you've lived in West Virginia. If you say hurricane, they know you're not from there. But we lived there in Hurricane. And I worked there at the Toyota Motor Manufacturing West Virginia plant for 2.5 years, and really loved it.
So what was the reason they just needed someone of your expertise in management? Were they trying to expand the plant? Why did they send you?
It was really for my development.
Okay.
So at that time, I had been at the Huntsville engine plant for 12 years. And, Toyota believes in providing, career growth by moving you from one department to another, one division from another. Maybe you've spent 10 years in administration, so Toyota rotates you over to manufacturing or vice versa. Or in some cases, even to another plant. It was an engine plant. I worked at an engine plant. So those processes were kind of the same, but it helps you develop your leadership capabilities, leadership skills, because you have to work with a new team, lead a new team.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the reason. I hope that I added some value to the West Virginia plant while I was there, but it was definitely a good career development growth opportunity for myself. I really enjoyed it.
If you don't mind me asking, because this is very similar to like what they call a PCS in government, right? Hey, you're going to go to Germany for 3 years, but you come back. So the family can decide you want to sell your house, you're going to rent your house while you're gone.
Yeah, basically the same.
Do they tell you like you can are they paying you to go there? Is it like a stipend type thing, or hey, rent a house or sell your house, whatever, but you're coming back in 3 years, but how much do they support you, I guess, in that assignment?
Yes. So when I was sent on that assignment, it was kind of a little bit open-ended, very honestly. There was a probability that I would come back to Huntsville, Madison, again, work at the Huntsville engine plant. That was the probability, but there was a possibility that maybe I would stay in West Virginia a little bit longer.
Okay.
So the plan, and it was all documented, put on paper, presented to me so that I could understand it, so that my wife could understand it, and we could make a family decision with having good information. They said, this is the plan. We'll send you up to West Virginia. And, at this point, don't sell your home. You can lease a home. Now, you can also decide to buy furniture. We'll support, that decision, or you can lease, rent furniture. That's your decision.
Yeah.
We will provide, necessary resources to help, with the lease of the home or the purchase of furniture to put in the home. And they said, hey, that will be, 2 to 3 years, and then we'll do a checkpoint. And at that time, we'll make the final decision. You'll stay or you'll go back. And if you go back, hey, you've got your home. If you stay, then you'll sell your home at that time. So that was how that worked.
Okay.
Yep.
So an announcement comes out on May 26th, 2015. Toyota announces partnership with Mazda, 2015. Okay. And I'm going to go to this article. Let's just bring this up. And I'm going to read it over here. Part of my new studio. I can't remember which way to look. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's right here. And this is interesting. And if you don't even mind, if you know some of the behind the baseball, right? Because there's still this like overriding question. Well, why do these guys really work? Why do we have this unique partnership between the two? Were they like college buddies? Did they grow up together as far as the CEO of Mazda, CEO, if you will, founders of Toyota? But here's our article. Toyota Mazda partnership offers new developments in the automotive industry. And I'm just going to skip down to this part that I've kind of highlighted. That's not the mouse for there. This isn't the first time the companies have worked together. So there's that. They've done some stuff before. But we're going to try and focus. This is going to lead us into Mazda Toyota Manufacturing.
Okay.
But it is the most significant. Beforehand, Toyota worked with Mazda by licensing them hybrid technology. In turn, Mazda has allowed Toyota to use one of its Mexico plants to produce compact cars. Now, part of this is also when you gave the speech to the SECA, I believe, was that the Southeastern maybe automotive group? Do you remember giving that speech?
Southern Automotive Conference, the
Okay.
SAC. Yes.
You had mentioned that we all think about Toyota as being highly efficient and the model of manufacturing.
Yes, the Toyota
Right.
production
They're the
system,
gold standard.
well known for lean manufacturing. Yes.
However, you made a comment that that Toyota reveres Mazda
Yep.
as even potentially even being more of like the platinum standard of efficiency, and they could learn something from them. So in forming the partnership between Toyota and Mazda, both companies have expressed mutual respect for each other. The two companies feature overlapping values and priorities in the automotive industry. President Akio Toyoda has praised Mazda, stating that its values are much like Toyota's. He cited the way in which Mazda prioritizes further improving their vehicles is identical to their own. Mazda President Masamichi Kogai also praised Toyota's dedication to its historical background. Now, here's that point you had kind of touched on it earlier. He also stated that companies intend to work together to improve the automotive industry, where it was like rather than being excited and as a when you were on the supplier side and being
Yes.
beat up by the manufacturer, they're like, hey, we want to make this. This is a part of the overall economic cycle, if you will, or the ecosystem of building cars. Let's help them improve, because it's only going to help the automotive industry improve if somehow what can we learn from this, right?
Yes.
This exchange. And I thought that was interesting. And then let's see, together Toyota and Mazda intend to create even more innovations and competition within the automotive industry. They also aim to create further sustainable growth within both companies. At this time, I don't believe Mazda Toyota Manufacturing was necessarily on the plans. It seemed like perhaps this comes together. Maybe there's a committee launched. They take some representatives from each company, and they say, what can we do? And then from that, the Mazda Toyota Manufacturing idea is born. Does that sound feasible? My theory on that.
I think that sounds very feasible. Yes.
And so then, do they call you back? Short of however long they wanted to keep you there, because like, wait a minute, Mark is from Alabama. We got this guy up in Buffalo, West Virginia. Let's bring him back, because now we have this idea. We want to spend $1.6 billion on a plant. We want to do 2 production lines. We've never done it. We're gonna create a Toyota product and a Mazda product. Let's get this going. Bring this guy back.
No.
But I want it to be true.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Dang it.
At that point, when I decided to come back, and Toyota decided to send me back, transfer me back from West Virginia to Alabama. Honestly, the Mazda Toyota Manufacturing joint venture the idea had not been put on paper yet.
Okay.
And also, very honestly, the location had not been decided at that time as well. Yeah.
Right, because there was was it always going to be Alabama?
No.
Okay.
No, there was a long list of potential sites in the very beginning that a site selection team kind of inspected across the United States. Yeah.
Wow, this is as exciting as like Space Force. Where's it going to go? And
Yeah.
where's Huntsville going to rank on the best places to live?
You can imagine a lot of states, a lot of cities would love to have a $2 billion investment that's going to employ, 4,000 with thousands of other indirect jobs. It's a huge economic project. So there were multiple states, many cities that were all trying to negotiate to land the joint venture. Yeah.
Do you have any insight in the interactions you have with Toyota on where this Mazda Toyota partnership and relationship, where those seeds were really kind of planted? Like, how far back are we going where they've been working together, or we're kind of they're it's like coopetition in a way, right?
Yeah, that's a great word. Honestly, I can't really speak to that. I get this question a lot, and I just say, those communications and those decisions took place in Japan.
Yeah.
January of
It's just
28.
fascinating.
Yeah, January of 2018.
Yeah.
We all found out that the joint venture was coming to Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah, to this local community.
Fair enough.
Honestly, I was very surprised. I really and truly was. I knew because of the site. I knew because of Toyota's relationship with the state of Alabama, with the city of Huntsville. I knew that this location would make its way, would earn its way towards the top of the list.
So let's explore
Okay.
this. When you come back from Buffalo,
Yep.
where do you go?
Back to the engine plant.
Right back to the engine
Yep.
plant. And then when you find out on, was it January 1st, 2018?
Yes.
Were you like, I want in on that?
Yes, I was very motivated to have an opportunity to join the MTM team.
Yeah.
I got some phone calls from Toyota's North American office in Plano, Texas, and some questions about my interest. And of course, I was highly interested because again, it's a very unique company, joint venture, two companies coming together. I hope that I could add some value to the project while also learning from Mazda. Mm-hmm. A great opportunity to not work for one great company, but it's an opportunity to work for two great companies. So I definitely wanted to be a part of it in any way, shape, form, or fashion that it could be, even if it was staying at the engine plant and just helping the new project team get situated and stabilized in this area.
Yeah.
If that was going to be my role, I was interested in doing that. Now, obviously, it became much bigger than that, and I certainly am appreciative for that opportunity.
Yeah.
It's again, life-changing opportunities. When I got the job opportunity to move back home to Alabama and go to work for Toyota in 2002, that was not just a career-changing opportunity. That was a life-changing opportunity, and this has been the same again. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So if you had not gone to Buffalo and just kind of remained do you feel like you would have been in a position to be doing what you're doing now?
I don't think so. Yeah. Because going to Buffalo and developing, relationships with the members of that management team and helping that plant make improvements and achieve many different types of objectives and missions and targets. I think I learned a lot, and I think Toyota thought that maybe I could apply some of those things in this new startup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have had that opportunity if I wouldn't have gone to Buffalo. Yeah.
And I think this is something that I would tell my kids, or you would tell your boys, like, look, you have to constantly update or build your resume. Because ultimately, if they're going to make a decision on who the managers are going to be and the administrators of this, well, there's you are in a bucket or you're not, or in a category of, well, these people all have been trained in a certain way. They have experience in certain things. We're going to pull from here. And if you're not in there, you're not in there.
Correct.
Right. And that seems like that's where Buffalo and Toyota does a great job, like you in career development.
Yes.
To ensure that Mark has the experience and skills that are needed when these things come along.
And again, I think the important thing is I signed up for or demonstrated the willingness to learn something different, to be challenged by, going from one Toyota manufacturing plant that I was very accustomed to getting put into a little bit of an uncomfortable spot, going to a new plant where I didn't know people. I had to, again, build those relationships and kind of earn their trust and respect. I was willing to go through that and experience that and learn from that. And I think that's something that Toyota looks for and Mazda looks for and a majority of companies look for. And, to transition a little bit from myself to the
Mm-hmm.
4,000 team members at Mazda Toyota.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons they decided to leave jobs, to leave companies that maybe they had worked for many years,
Yeah.
and try something new. And it's hard to make that leap, but I think it's important because growing and learning and developing, it should never stop. And all of us that have made the decision to join the Mazda Toyota team, we kind of made that decision to try something new.
Let me pull on that thread
And-
because
and-
normally Team 1, right? You've got Mark,
Yeah,
Team
yep.
1, right there. Everyone can see it on the camera.
Yes.
But normally, when people can, they usually do it one team.
Yes.
I find it's just two words. They're just flipped. But I think you guys might be the first I've ever heard of or know of that I went with Team 1 versus one team.
Yes.
Can you talk me through that deliberate decision to label it that way?
Yeah. So, I think everybody understands one team. Oh, we're one team. Okay. Well, who's part of that one team? Just the Mazda Toyota team? Well, that's okay. Yeah, we can understand that. If you're a team member, team leader, group leader, management, office member, on the production shop floor, everybody's part of that team, part of that one team. We didn't want to just think of ourselves as one team relative to the members that work at Mazda Toyota. We have service providers on our campus. We have other manufacturing companies, suppliers, partners, and that's what we say. We don't say on-site suppliers.
Right.
We say on-site partners, okay? But they're building component parts and conveying those parts over to us in just-in-time basis.
Yeah.
So they're on our campus. So, is the one team, is that just Mazda Toyota, or does that include them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, absolutely, it includes them. So we changed it from one team to Team 1. And Team 1, the 1 is acronym, ONE, on-site. So our on-site service providers, our on-site partners. Near-site is the N. We do have some that aren't on-site, but they're close to us. Mile away is ViewTech, a few more miles away, a couple of other partners. So near site, and then E, everyone. And that includes the community as well. So that's Team 1.
I didn't realize
on-site,
it was with all the caps.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, on-site, near site, everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
Well done.
Yeah.
All right, so with the time we have, which is not much, before you got to get out of here. There's we have a few pictures we're going to show you.
Okay.
And I want you to figure out in chronological order, right? So I'm going to show you the picture.
Okay.
I'm going to show you 5 of them, and then we'll see, kind of test your memory.
This is like a This Is Your Life episode.
Yeah, basically.
This is your Toyota or Mazda Toyota life.
Okay, here's picture 1.
Yes.
So here you're just taking a look at this. You're giving a speech to some group. Looks maybe a company, all hands or something like that. And then here's picture 2. So now in your mind you got to think, okay, when was picture 1? Don't answer yet.
Okay.
And then there's picture 2. Okay, we're taking a look at this. Couple people sketching something out with some red Sharpies. 3 red Sharpies. Here's picture number 3. Okay, tracking?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see it there better. You
Yep.
can see it there. Here's 4
Yep. Gotcha.
and 5. Told you there
Yes.
was a DC one in here.
Yep.
All right, so what order did those go in? So there's 5, 4,
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. 4 is number 1.
Okay.
That's groundbreaking, November of 2018.
Okay.
Right.
And you've got the CEOs of Toyota and Mazda there?
Yes.
Wow.
No, not the CEOs. No,
The
they were at
representatives.
the original announcement.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have our top Mazda member who works at MTM, Mr. Aihara. He's our president, and also the top TMC Toyota member, Mr. Kogahashi, who is our executive vice president. There in the photo.
Okay.
There with myself, Jeanette Hostetler, who is our senior vice president of manufacturing. Yes.
All right, where's the next one? So that was 3, that was 2, that was 1. And then the DC one was number 5.
Yeah.
This is good.
I would say that the
That one.
yeah is that number 2? Yeah, number 2 is next. That was what we call the close. No, that's not next. The next was a neighborhood meeting. That one right there.
Okay.
Yes, that is. So what we decided to do at that point in construction is invite the landowners who own the land that ultimately sold the land to the city of Huntsville that became the site of Mazda Toyota Manufacturing. We wanted to bring them in and kind of give them a project update and honestly appreciate them, honor them for making that tough decision to sell some of the farmland that had been in their family for generations.
Yeah.
And let them know, that we're going to be a good hometown company.
Yeah.
And how much we appreciated, respected that decision that they made. And then there was some other just additional homeowners that had homes in and around the Greenbrier community area where the plant is located.
Okay.
So that was what we call the neighbor meeting. I think that was number 2. Number 3 was the picture in which we're signing something. The something that we're signing is a panel. It's a wall panel. So there's kind of 3 kind of milestone events in a construction project, and the first is groundbreaking. Everybody comes to groundbreaking. All the elected officials and representatives, from the company up to and including senior level executives. Again, that was in November of 2018. For us, the next big milestone event was the first steel beam. It takes multiple months to do the site work, the earth work, and then you got to pour, 3.7 million square feet of concrete, and then you begin to put into place the steel beams. So the first steel beam is a kind of significant construction milestone. So we put the first steel beam in place and we signed it, and then later you have what is called the closing in. So all the framework is in, concrete's finished, all the framework, all the beams, infrastructure is in place, and then you begin to close in the facility with wall panels. That was the last wall panel to be hung and put in place, and at that point, the building is closed in.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, that was a construction milestone, and we all signed that last piece of structural steel side panel, and they hung it, and we all clapped. Yeah.
Now we're at 1 and 5.
Yeah. So I think the next would be. Can I see him again real quick?
Yeah. There's 1.
Yeah.
And 5 is the shot in DC.
Yeah, that's probably next. So we were invited to DC along with multiple other car manufacturers, transplant companies, to talk about the impact that we have in our local communities, in our states. Each car company brings a tremendous amount of economic development, but also thousands of jobs. And there's a lot of foreign car makers in the United States these days, and this was an opportunity to just appreciate those car companies, and we were asked to participate in it. Cool. So we went to DC for that event, and then I'm pretty sure that's the Corolla Cross line-off ceremony. And that's, kind of the final big event. So your construction's over, and you've gone through the hiring and the training and the production trials, and here comes the first vehicle.
That's awesome.
So we stopped, and we had 2 big ceremonies. We had the first line-off ceremony for the Corolla Cross, and that was in September of 2021. And then in January of 22, we had the ceremony for the CX-50. Yeah. Those were, that's huge awesome. Events. And you don't accomplish that without a hell of a lot of teamwork.
4 years later, right?
Yeah. A hell of a lot of teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my man, you need to run because there's a soccer game going on.
Yes.
Two crosstown rivals.
Crosstown rival, Bob Jones and JC. Yeah, it's going to play some soccer this evening.
I really appreciate you coming in. And just like we said when we started, we barely got into it in a way, right? There's so much more to talk about, but I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. I saw a little bit of that. You were kind of like the mayor today at that thing where everybody wanted to talk to Mazda Toyota, right? Because they see the value, right? And again, like I was saying, you guys stick out because you're kind of one of a kind. There's a lot of people here that are PhDs designing, rockets in their aerospace, and there's like a lot of me's, the federal contractors running around, and there's some universities, but there's really only one automaker. In one auto manufacturing operation going on, and so you guys just kind of really naturally stick out amongst everybody, and not only automakers, but arguably the best, right? And I think Toyota has always held that in high regard, and now just researching this, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much they revered Mazda, and so that's
absolutely
really interesting.
Yep, yeah. As a new company, we established, a mission statement, a vision statement, and we established 5 core values as a new company. One of the core values is the word relate. And that really speaks to, wanting to have trusting relationships with the local community, local schools, local nonprofit organizations, local elected officials, obviously. We want to be a hometown company, the type of company that our community is proud of having in their community.
Yeah.
So, it's been for me, a incredible journey over this past 4 years. Fortunate.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I was part of the Toyota engine plant startup, I was like, wow, this is a once-in-a-career opportunity to be part of a brand-new company. And I got to do it twice. Really incredible. That's awesome. And, to think about the 4,000 career opportunities that we have given to people in North Alabama, it's something special. I'd like to share some of those stories one day because there's some remarkable stories.
Yeah, one thing to mention, and it actually deals with your high school, Bob Jones, and the what was her name again? That's the chess.
Renee Bartlett.
Renee Bartlett, and I just met her. I got her business card. I need to look at her name, and I'll remember it, like photographic memory that way. But she talked about what they're doing at the high school level to prepare people for careers in manufacturing.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's awesome that you guys that has created that need, right? Again, what are the industries out there? Are we preparing our young folks for careers and highly specialized careers? Especially
careers in modern manufacturing.
Yeah.
This is not the manufacturing of 30 years ago when I first started in textiles.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
That's right.
At all.
I interviewed a guy named John Schmidt that's with Advanced Manufacturing, AMIC. And so it's that's what we talked about. Just the landscape. It's just totally different. Right?
Totally different.
Totally different. We'll let you go. But much more to come in part 2 when we do that. And
yes, I'll sign up for a part 2. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Be my pleasure.
Thank you for coming in, Mark.
Thank you, Troy.
All the best. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
And Gabe. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thanks, Gabe.
And with that, until next time. Yeah. Go Patriots. Take care.